I've spent over $1 billion on ads for some of the biggest companies in the world and help people spending as little as $100 a month to see success. In this video, partnering with Foreplay, I reveal what most marketers never get to see. I'm going to show you a recorded Zoom call auditing a stranger's Meta ad account to show them the settings and theology they can change to instantly boost their returns so you can repeat the success for yourself. No staging, just a real process with real stakes. Let's do it. First thing that I want to do, Daniel, is let's go in, let's change these columns out. I really want to turn this into what we call a 4PI analysis. So let's go to columns. Let's, it'll open up the customize option at the bottom. All right. And then in here, let's change this name real quick, just so if you hit save, you don't overwrite your existing column set. So first thing, upper left-hand corner. Yeah, there we go. Type in 4PI. 4PI, by the way, stands for the four key performance indicators that I really track. So over on the right-hand side, it's got all these 28 columns selected, all that stuff. Just go ahead and hit X until that list is completely done. It's faster to rebuild than it is to fix. I've done this hundreds and hundreds of times. Just smash that button until it's all gone. Awesome. First thing that we want is amount spent. So let's add that column. Amount spent in a CBO environment shows what ad sets have earned budget, and within any ad set, what ads have earned budget. So spend is a meritocracy. What is earning investment from the platform? Next, we want frequency. Frequency is the best way of understanding how is the machine using your ads. What is the audience for this ad? And we'll get to more in depth in that later. Let's next get to CPM. CPM is a direct reflection of what is that user's experience. So go ahead, search for metrics, column settings, just type in CPM there at the top.
And guys, quick jump in here. If you are on the list to get your account audited, go ahead and set this preset up in your ad account so that's ready when we get to your account.
It will help. It will help. Yeah, good. Thanks, Jack. Now, because of the size and scale of your ad account and some of the insight, also do me a favor, type the number 1 in there. The first thing that comes up is cost per 1,000 account centers reached. So if CPM is the quality of the experience, cost per 1,000 account centers reached is what is the cost of incrementality? How much does it cost to actually reach new people? Because those numbers are dramatically different. And then the last thing that we want to do, you have an e-commerce business, it looks like. So let's get into here and type in cost per purchase. Love it. So you'll see the purchases section here. Just go ahead and hit cost. Awesome. Now, do me a favor, go to custom. And we're gonna, so right below where your mouse is the custom function. At the top, it says all tracking, recently used, and custom. And here, let's hit create custom metric. And we're gonna call this one GPT. So that could be the name. Yep, GPT. And then the description is this going to be gross profit per transaction. And then in the above section, where it says to combine metrics into formula, all of that fun stuff, let's first type in average. So AVE, and it'll populate. Awesome. Average purchases, conversion value, pick that one. That's your AOV. And then minus cost per purchase. Love it. Let's change this format to currency. So there we go. Love it. Currency, create metric in the lower right corner is that blue button.
Go for it.
Create metric.
Oh,
there you go. Love it. Awesome. Thanks, Jack. And then let's go ahead and add that to the mix. And in their infinite wisdom, Facebook has reshuffled the deck, so we're going to have to change some of our columns. No, you go ahead and click the button next to GPT. Awesome. Now, they've resorted this a little bit, which is annoying. So before we go and reshuffle this deck appropriately, let's go ahead and add average order value to our columns here. So in the search and metrics, let's type in average. Love it. I think Jack is just traffic cop over here. This is fantastic. Usually it's me having to do all this stuff by myself, man. Thank you. Yes, that one. Now, over on the column section, we're going to readjust the order of this. You did it in the right order, but for whatever reason, the machine is often going to shuffle the deck when we add new things. It's kind of annoying. So with that being said, let's put frequency right behind amount spent. Love that. CPM, yep, this is all good now. All right, so let's go ahead and hit save. And so what we're going to see now is a dashboard that says, how much did this ad earn? What is the audience that saw this ad? What is their quality of experience? What is the cost for incrementality? What is the cost for a transaction? How much profit do I make per transaction? And then we can put that into context with the AOV, because fun fact, you might have 10 ads, 100 ads, or 3 ads in any ad set. 99% of the time, your AOV is going to be different for every single ad, because fun fact, what you actually promote with your ad is not what people buy. Every time, you might see an ad for a Big Mac, but go in, if you're like me and a child, you just get, a shake and like nuggets and fries. I mean, I haven't had that in a while. It's the example that I use a lot because I think it's straightforward enough for people to understand. So what I love about this is we now have a good view of what's going on. Do me a favor and go to breakdown and day. And this way we can get an idea of what's happening over the last 7 days. So next to the column section is a breakdown section. Right above, right there. There you go. Awesome. Hit day. So what this is going to do is essentially tell us in reverse chronological order what's happening. So a couple of things that we can see. First off, your frequency by day in your interest campaign is sitting in the 1.3s, 1.2s, 1.3s. I, for what it's worth, don't care at all about frequency unless I'm looking at it by day. A frequency of 1.9 over a week basically means the average person sees your ad once every 3.5 days, and the average person probably sees 100 ads in a day, which means these people probably don't even know you exist. So a high frequency is when we measure by the day. Now, alongside of that, when we look at each day, if you look at yesterday, for instance, the second, 1.32, that's essentially saying 32% of people saw your ad twice. The day before that was 24, then it's 30, 40. On average, maybe 30% of people every single day are being retargeted with your ad at least once in that day. We would consider 30% of your budget going to retarget people to be a fairly lower funnel ad. And you can, in general, kind of see trends where the lower the daily frequency, you will also see a lower CPM because that ad is sitting higher in the funnel. So the reason that you're getting a higher quality user experience because you're not hammering the same people over and over again. When you multiply those numbers against each other, you see the cost per 1,000 account centers, which really lets you know the cost of doing business, how much it actually costs to reach people. So I don't really care about the 1.93 frequency. What I do care about is your CPM is 27, but you're actually at a 53 on the cost per unique individual user. Now, from that, we can also understand when your ads sit lower in the funnel, I expect them to, in those cases, not always be as efficient. And when they sit higher in the funnel, we often expect them to be less efficient. So to kind of recap, upper funnel ads tend to earn more spend. They tend to have a lower frequency, lower CPM, and a higher cost per purchase. That's a general trend. Lower funnel ads earn less spend, have a higher daily frequency, higher CPM, and we consider a higher efficiency. Essentially, they're less costly to show to people. Now, you have a couple of outliers here, but in general, you can see that your ad set, your campaign, isn't necessarily following along with that expectation. So that tells us that there's definitely some opportunity within this one campaign that spent 2K in the last 7 days to see, are there ads that are doing the job properly and are there ads that aren't? And what's interesting here, your average order value ranges from 32 to 24. So you're all over the place. I mean, one day your AOV was 50% higher than another day. So that's, very interesting for us to know. And the reason we put GPT into the mix is because it really puts into context. Obviously, a lower CPA can be good, but what is the magnitude of that difference against the volume of overall transactions? So on the 28th, for instance, this campaign, you got a 25-pound cost per sale. You lost a pound per sale on that transaction. 2 days later, your CPA was basically the same, but instead of losing a buck, you made $6. Or, not a buck because it's, I'm American, so forgive me. I'm going to use probably dollars and cents by default, but whether it's rand, lira, pound, euro, all the same stuff. So the point is we can really understand what are we doing and what is the value of the attention that we're buying. So as an aside, also your ASC scale campaign versus your interest, your ASC costs more to make a sale and you make less on that sale. Actually, scroll up real quick. I want to show you one other thing. If you look at this side by side, your scale campaign is not only more expensive to make the sale, but is worth less when you do. It's not just, let me put it to you this way. For that scale campaign to be of the same amount of value to you per transaction, that CPA would have to be 11, which we don't really think is ever going to happen because the average order value is so much less. Even if it's the same product, even if it's the same landing page, you're buying different types of attention. And generally speaking, more upper funnel audiences are generally worth less money than lower funnel audiences because they're earlier in the customer journey. So when we look at the ASC campaign, the frequency is 1.06, 1.07. 6% of people saw that ad twice versus 30. Well, the AOV was 13 instead of 28. Does that make sense? So if we get into this, let's get into the interest campaign, because this is where I think we got the best opportunity to make an impact. So first thing is, let's get rid of that breakdown by day and just take a little bit of a analysis of the landscape here and what we've got. So we've got five ad sets that are really spending money. Okay. Now of these 5 ad sets, if we just take a look at what earned spend, we expect the thing that earned the most spend to generally be highest in the funnel with the lowest amount of efficiency. However, the things earning the most money in this account, in this campaign, the ASC August 22nd, has an above average CPM, but again, on what we would expect, an above average CPM equals an above average efficiency. So the CPA there is the lowest. We generally don't always see that being a situation where those are also the ad sets that earn the most spend. So a quick question, is this a CBO or an ABO campaign?
Ahmed, who is also in the call, is going to have to answer that.
Okay. Do me a favor, hit edit on this ad set.
Hold up. It is ABO.
Okay, got it. So it's an ABO campaign. So an ABO campaign essentially means what you have is 5 campaigns live inside of a folder. When you have an ABO campaign, every ad set is essentially its own campaign. So the reason that this is earning more spend isn't because it's actually earning more, it's just because you're deciding to spend more here, which is, its own thing. But either way, if we begin to take a look at this, we now need to understand what's the biggest problem that you're having. So let me phrase it in this way. Are you seeing an issue with scaling this, or are you seeing an issue with your CPA rising, or with like a lack of overall profitability on a day, or is everything feeling good right now?
I would say everything is trending in the right direction at the moment.
Okay.
But basically just a lack of overall profitability.
Got it. So when it's a lack of overall profitability, let me ask you another question. How many products do you sell? Or how many offers do you have?
We have one product, but
Okay.
we're launching 2 further products this weekend actually as well. So we'll have 3.
Okay. So if you have one product, can you walk me through how somebody could spend 24 and somebody else could spend 30?
Well, it's basically 12, 24, or 48 pack.
Got
That's
it.
something to buy. Yeah.
Okay. So, while we have this information here, what I want to say is what I don't know is terribly actionable quite yet is getting down to the effectiveness of each individual ad. And I think we can take a look at one of these ad sets to do it. But what's also interesting to me, if we want to improve the profitability of this campaign, one of the simplest ways of doing that is taking a look at the cost per purchase and the GPT. Now, if you think of this like quadrant of, a graph where if in the center of your screen, there's an X, everything to the left of that has a below average CPA, and everything below that line has a below average GPT. What you're going to find is you're going to have some ads that have a below average, an above average cost per purchase and a below average gross profit per transaction. Basically, you're going to have some ads where on average it costs you more money to make less. Having that ad, having those campaigns, having those ad sets reflect a smaller and smaller percentage of your delivery is great. Here, we can get to this one point, the ASC August 14th. This ad set, for instance, is reflective of 15% of your overall budget at a 1.96 frequency. So it is struggling to find anybody that likes to see it. So it's hammering the same people over and over again, but those people like it. So that CPM being the lowest while the frequency is the highest means this ad is not good at its job. This is an ad that is struggling to find an audience, so it's only hitting the few people who actually want to see it. Those folks tend to, unfortunately, also be the ones that are of least value to you. So it's the least incremental marketing effort you have, which costs you almost more than anything else to make a sale for the lowest average order value. An easy way to make more money is to turn off anything where the CPA is above and the GPT is below. Moving this budget to anything where your CPA is below 15 and your GPT is above 13 means every pound you spend will work harder. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
So we could get into ad to ad to ad, and that can be fun. But in an ABO environment, your ad sets are not talking to each other. Your campaigns aren't talking to each other. So an ad in the clean and sober ad set is competing against all of the other ads, but the machine isn't understanding that one ad is doing one thing and another ad is doing something else, and how can we let them work together in a complementary nature? The only complementary efforts you have is all of the ads within any single ad set. So you essentially have 5 different salesmen all in the same division, all competing against each other to try to steal each other's lunch money. Does that make
And
sense?
so it does. And I guess the kind of strategy we've been following is, launching 10 new creatives per week and
Okay.
just creating a new ad set to basically, launch those creatives so that the rationale behind is that the budget is as evenly spread as possible. Because if we drop those in an ad set with already, competing creative, generally they don't get any budget, or that's what we've noticed. That
Yeah.
was that was the kind of that was the rationale behind it. So how would you recommend setting it up so that, all the ads are talking to each other, like you said?
Yeah. So first off, I totally understand that rationale. That was me in 2012 to like 2018. I absolutely did that. I totally get it. Let me also, bye, Iris, if you can give us a moment. Sorry. If we could also take a moment here to understand, I don't know that. Let me poke as to why I don't like that strategy of just launching a ton of stuff as fast as possible.
Hmm.
For you to be more profitable, not spending where the money is really bad is an easy way for you to get better. Like arguably right now, I could take a look at this. 3 out of your 5 ad sets are a bad investment.
Yeah, there's only 2 that are actually like really profitable that are
Well, I would say there are 2 that are above average, 3 that are below. And when you have 5, the fact that it's 2 on one side, 3 on the other kind of makes sense.
Mhm. Yes,
Removing the liabilities to success is a far higher leverage point than throwing more uncertainty at the ad account. Does that make sense?
100%. And then how do you, a couple questions. The first one is, let's say we remove the liabilities right now, how do you then scale, so that we're still getting the same, volume of sales?
Sure. So how do we fix this? What is the 3-step process to get out of this situation to something that is more stable, more scalable, more reliable, and more profitable?
Yeah.
Step number 1. Remember we were talking about the 4 PI? Some ads do their job, some ads don't. Some ads overachieve at their job, some ads don't, right? So all of these ad sets probably have good ads and bad ads within them. just going down that breakdown. If we were to take all of the best ads you have running here and put it into one ad set, I'd prefer it to be in a CBO. But if we were to combine, essentially make an all-star team, all we need is for that all-star team to be the second worst thing in the account. Because if it's the second worst thing, we can shift budget from this ASC August 14th to that other place, and we're just spending our money better right away. If we do that process where it's now like the second best thing or whatever it is, the goal of it is to remove all of these non-complementary efforts and cherry pick sort of this island of misfit toys or an all-star team of all the things that can do the best. As long as that is outperforming anything else and your results are good enough, you increase the spend. There is this misconception of adding new creatives as a way to scale an ad account. I'm not opposed to creative testing. I do creative testing every single day. I'm not opposed to launching new ads. I do it every day. But the point is right now, what you don't have is a very clear definition of what your ad account does well and what it doesn't. You can just say, well, we're struggling on profitability.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so far we kind of, if we have, so if you, sorry, just going back to what you just said. So let's say we create the CBO ad set, right? So then again, we're creating a separate ad set. So isn't that creating the same issue where, the ads are essentially, again, not.
Yes. So if it was a separate campaign with a CBO ad set, that's the amalgamation of what we've got. Yes, we're adding one layer of complexity today as the way to remove these 5 ad sets so that we can move from 5 pieces that don't communicate at all to a handful of pieces that are all complementary. Does that make sense?
It absolutely does. And then that CBO campaign that the CBO ad set in the campaign is how big can you grow it in terms of, amount of ads and budget, and how quickly can you scale them as, whilst they're profitable?
I mean, I manage ad accounts where we spend 50, 60 grand a day on a campaign with 2 or 3 ad sets that all together have 5 to 6 ads.
And then how quickly are you able to scale those, like, to get to that point?
When it comes to speed to scale, you can double your budget every day if you want to. What I'll tell people is this. They say not to make changes over 20%. That's sort of this like back of the napkin math that came out and was popular like 5 years ago and is repeated all the time. Let me put it to you this way. It all depends on your confidence and level of aggression and your tolerance for risk.
Maximum.
If you increase the budget by 1%, you can have a 99% confidence on the outcome. You're changing the data set by 1%.
Yeah.
If you change the budget by 100%, you effectively have 0 confidence in the outcome.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Would it make sense to change this campaign to CBO?
I think I'd rather just build where I want to go alongside of it because this is already working. One of the biggest mistakes I see people make is they take this effort to rebuild everything in the way that they quote unquote should. My biggest thing is instead of just burning everything to the ground and starting over and over and over again, let's just build one thing and all it has to do is be better than the absolute worst thing you have. Let's raise your floor. And then as it becomes not the worst thing, it absorbs the worst. The worst 1, the worst 2, the worst 3, the worst 4. And then our new creative testing can happen within that campaign when we've clearly identified a problem. If you got foreplay and you got lens and you see that like this ad is fatiguing, the velocity of fatigue is like really picking up. Well, okay, this is a prospecting ad. Things are getting bad quick. That's the problem I need to solve. So now I can launch a prospecting ad. You might also see, oh, this bottom of funnel ad is fatiguing really fast. Like we can't rely, like you can start to see the outliers that moving, there's a team and then eventually things fall out, right? And that's one of my favorite ways of using Lens to understand that velocity. When things are getting worse quick, you can identify that as the thing to test and replace.
And considering also that we're going to be launching 2 new products this weekend, it's an opportunity to kind of set it up in the right way. Another question is, how do you manage, 3 different products if you were to build like a CBO campaign? we're CBO ad sets within the new campaign with 3 products, 2 of which we haven't run any ads for yet.
I wouldn't run ads to those products.
Okay.
You do not need to run an ad to 99% of what you sell. The purpose of running ads is to amplify the business model that you know is profitable. The most expensive way to test ideas is to run ads to offers that you don't know even convert.
Interesting. Yeah, that
If
makes
you
a
want
lot.
to make more money, let me simplify this in a different way.
Yeah.
If you want to be more profitable, think of this as an investment portfolio. Stop investing in the thing that gets you a 1% return when something else gets you a 50. Stop buying nickels when you can buy dollars. Or, stop buying, I don't know what the British version of that is, but like
Okay. Nickels, dollars, yeah, all good.
okay, fair enough.
Charlie, Daniel, I have a question for you guys.
Sure.
On minimum viable budget. Do you feel like you're spending enough to get statistically significant results here, Daniel, from your
No.
tests? Because over the last 7 days, I mean, if you
Yeah.
put on the delivery column, you'd probably see that these were all learning limited. And if you spent $1 a day, for example, or a pound, those results probably wouldn't be statistically significant. And for a lot of the accounts that I've seen, just ramping up the budget is what gives that campaign or that ad set, in your case, the data that it needs to find its feet and know who to show the next ad to. And looking at these ad sets, they all look like they have a very low spend and are probably not getting that many purchase conversions through.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one thing I'll say to this is a machine learning algorithm. We have to be very mindful of what we are teaching it. Give it a very clear set of lessons. Ask it to do one thing well. And if you launch a test and that test doesn't earn spend, but your results are good enough, who cares? You have one problem to solve. Can I spend more money? If the answer to that question is a yes, your creative test might last for weeks or months. The purpose of a creative test is not to produce a winning post ID. The purpose of a creative test is ultimately to understand how much more capacity for spend does your ad account have.
Awesome.
Right, I couldn't agree more. Daniel, if I was going to put this into an analogy, it would be you're trying to drive across the country, but you put gas into like 5 different cars, and now none of those cars can get you across the country. Right? You've got all of these separate ad sets with a very small budget, and then are going to take you the distance.
Yeah, and to quote my man Barry Hott from the live that we did with Shabazz earlier, like 2 weeks ago, Jack, if this is a marathon right now, you're trying to assign credit to wherever you got the last drink of water. So your cost per purchase might dramatically change when you reduce the number of ads. Because right now, maybe the reason that ASC August 22nd looks the best is because it's the one that reaches the most people. So it has the highest opportunity to be the last touch point, but it might have nothing to do with the success. Right now, you have so many moving parts, you can't make that analysis with any confidence. And that's, I think, one of the big action items I'd like to take out of this.
100%.
Awesome.
Charlie, this reminds me of what you were telling me the other day. The first people your ads are delivered to when you launch a new budget line, a new ad set, or a campaign, budget optimized campaign, is the people that Meta thinks are most likely to purchase.
Yeah.
So you go and launch a new ad set, and it's going for those people who are already on your product pages. It's going for those people who've already added a product to their cart and then dropped off, right? And maybe it gets a few last click purchase conversions, and then you think, this is winning my test. It has my best efficiencies, my best ROAS, or my lowest CPA. But in reality, it was just able to snipe a few conversions. And then none of this, potentially none of what we're looking at right now, is representative of your performance at scale. If you were to spend 10 or 100 times as much on each of these ad sets, you might find entirely different results that would actually be statistically significant, right?
Great.
Yeah.
I think it definitely makes sense. It's interesting because there is a narrative around like creative volume as well, right? A lot of sort of gurus are talking about the more creative volume, the better, basically, right? So that's kind of why we just decided, hey, like we need more. We basically just need to produce more ads, but at the end, we need winning ads and we need to scale those ads. I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah, and this is something I think also to try to quote the last. By the way, if you're not paying attention to the foreplay lives, I'm just going to pull a couple of nuggets from those. My buddies that run Ridge, and I've dropped some interviews on my Instagram and YouTube and stuff of me talking to Chris and to the guys that are managing that team, or Brian Kano over at True Classic. If you're spending $200,000 a day and need to find a 1% edge, that's a very different situation than you're spending $2,000 a week trying to add 10% to your budget. Don't copy a 9-figure brand on how to get to 7 figures and spend.
That makes sense. Yeah.
It's a completely different game. So I want to end this and move on to the next person on our list, but action
Thank you so
items
much.
here. I would
Yeah, so-
cherry pick through these ad sets of the ads that earn a lot of budget and perform the job that we would expect. Low frequency earns low frequency, low CPM, low efficiency. Those ads are upper funnel ads. High frequency, high CPM, high efficiency. Those are lower funnel ads. What ads are doing their job well? Or maybe you've got some lower funnel ads that are also earning a fair amount of budget. Great. Build a team. If we put that team into a new campaign that's CBO, broad targeting, no targeting at all, just age, gender, location, and let the machine just serve those ads to everybody, a win is that is the second worst thing in the ad account. As soon as that happens, begin to shift your budget out of this campaign to that other one. And all it's going to do is basically just collect all of the garbage at the bottom of their performance. And it's going to ultimately collect all of the budget across everything except a few outliers. You might be left with 1 or 2 ad sets here, and that's fine. But your number one problem in your business is, can I spend more? The easiest way for you to spend more money, be more profitable, is looking at this GPT metric. What do you actually make per sale? Because the difference between the performance of different ad sets is so dramatic because the AOVs are different. And if you understand how to attract the attention of higher value buyers, you can afford a higher CPA. And my buddy Nate at Original Grain said that his CAC has gone up every year for the last few years, and they've never been more profitable because they're setting up the machine to allow higher customer acquisition costs by focusing on higher average order values and then LTV. Fun fact, the more money somebody spends with you on day one, the more likely they're to spend money with you again. Price-conscious consumers are the least brand loyal. My number one hack outside of all of this stuff to give you to go away and really noodle is, how do I sell an offer that is, let's say, over 50 to 60? Can I get an AOV that is double of this? Because that fundamentally changes your allowable CAC, will have a tremendous impact on second purchase rate, and will substantially change the trajectory of your business. Getting a CAC that is twice as high will do 1,000,000 times more for you than any creative test that gets you a 5% lower CPA. And I think that's the highest inflection use of your time. Nail that for Black Friday. Your Black Friday offer, get 100. Remember, the purpose of Black Friday is to acquire higher value customers for a lower cost. If you use Black Friday to discount your normal offers, you are investing heavily and making a lot less money to buy people who will never buy from you again. And that is one of the easiest ways that Black Friday is just destroy businesses. If you launch Black Friday wrong, February, March, April of next year will just completely tank.
Really helpful.
And feel free to reach out to me if you need any help on any of the things, right? This is what we talk about in Disruptor Academy all the time, the Meta MBA program. This is the work I do at my agency every single day. So happy to help. I'm on socials. Find me, DM me. I'm around. I promise.